So I'm Zhou. I'm actually come from IBM Research Arm. I'm going to present OpinionBlocks at a very probably 10,000 miles high level. And this is actually the interactive visual analytic tool that allows users to derive insights from a large collection of opinion text and use that to facilitate their decision-making processes. So this is a joint work with actually my colleague Huahai, Liang, and Eben, and also a bunch of other people, and with also 2 summer students from Georgia Tech and UC Santa Barbara. Actually, my colleague Huahai is here. Liang is there. So if you have questions or interest in this particular tool, please actually feel free to talk to them. So what motivated our work is actually quite simple. Hundreds of millions of people voice their opinions online in public. And a large portion of those opinions actually are about reviews of products or services. And many, also maybe hundreds of millions of other people rely on those opinions to make their decisions. And in our interest, we're focusing on 2 types of users. So one type, of course, the consumers. So they rely on those reviews to make purchasing decisions. And another type of users are basically employees of businesses, lines of businesses. So they use those opinions to make actually product or service decisions. But it doesn't matter which type of users we're talking about. They all are facing the same types of challenges. So the first challenge is there's simply too much data to wade through. So I'm just using 3 examples from 3 different websites. So on Amazon.com, there's a particular product. This product received 7,900 reviews, and that number is increasing probably on a daily basis. That's another restaurant review on Yelp.com received actually 1,700 reviews, more than 1,700 reviews. And on TripAdvisor.com, there's a particular hotel which received about 2,400 reviews. So the question for all the users is how many of the reviews should I read through to get what I want so I can make informed decision? The second problem is existing tools rarely help users answer their questions directly so they can make decisions actually effectively. So from the consumer side, in order to buy something, they might want to know what kind of key aspects this product I should learn about or I should pay attention to. Or which aspects receive the most, let's say, conflicting reviews or most controversial, so I should actually learn more about it. And from a selling side, from the basically business side, in this case, they may want to know how to best sell the features of my product based on most positive or most negative reviews that I have received. And the second part of it is how do my product features compare to that of my competitors? In order to answer those questions, so we're developing a tool called OpinionBlocks. And it includes actually 3 major technical components. The first one is given a set of unstructured opinion text, for example, a set of reviews that I just give you an example, and then we run them through the text analytics engine. So this engine actually creates what we call the conceptual spaces, which includes a set of dimensions, which I'm going to describe briefly in the next slide. And then we have an interactive visualization engine which converts this conceptual space into an interactive visual summary of the opinion text. Then the user can interact with this particular visual summary to derive insights at multiple levels. In addition to interacting with the information itself, the users can also make corrections to the designed visualization, to a generated visualization, to fix the system analytic errors generated by the text analytic engine. The hope is to use the user feedback to gradually improve the overall quality of the systems. So the next few slides, I'm going to quickly run through each of these components to give you some of the kind of core ideas. So keep in mind it is, as I said earlier, our goal here is trying to help users make decisions by looking at those opinion text. So the goal here, technical goal here is how can we transform the unstructured opinion text into what we call the structured conceptual spaces that facilitate a person's actually decision-making processes. Actually, thanks to my colleague here, Hua Hai, who has the who's a psychologist background. So he found that it is, from a cognitive psychology point of view, people use conceptual spaces to learn about concepts, learn about objects. So each conceptual space consists of a number of dimensions which represent the qualities of objects. And you can think this is a very good analogy when how people actually went through the reviews trying to find out the qualities of each product. And more importantly, the conceptual spaces, unlike other simple type of aspects, visual summary or text summary, it actually captures the overall distributions of opinions. So you know what opinions, how the opinions have been distributed along those different dimensions. Potentially, you can also see actually the relationships among the dimensions. So here, the dimensions were useful dimensions to approximate them as the decision factors that can help people make decisions. A reason here it is because by cognitive psychology theory, it is when people make decisions, especially when they're making purchase decisions, in the absence of the products, people try to use what we call attribute-driven decision-making. So they examine attributes, their relationships, the quality of the attributes. Second part of it is we extract the qualities that people care about the most. So that's why we kind of hypothesize that these particular things would really work out for people, especially when are trying to make a decision. Another type of it, feature here is each dimension describes is described by a set of value, which means a set of words to talk about the quality of this particular dimension, and of course, including also the sentiment orientation of each dimension. So now, as you can see, if you have a set of unstructured opinion text, and you can convert it into the conceptual spaces with those dimensions, then we can visualize them. So interactive visualization is to really visualize the conceptual spaces to help people see and assess all those opinion texts. So I'm going to give an example of the two versions of opinion blocks. So this is the first version. I'm not going to comment on why we have a first version and versus the second version, because I'm going to leave that to the audience. Probably in the question and answering session, we can talk more about it. So this is the first version of opinion blocks. So what you can see here is all those big blocks, right, called aspect blocks, represent each actually quality dimension of a particular product. And in each dimension, we show the number of reviews actually mention this particular product. And moreover, we also kind of show whether this product is mentioned in terms of sentiment-wise, this is positive versus negative. So you can see the positive versus negative counts. Of course, you can also see number of dimensions that are mentioned, which we, as I said, approximate them as the decision factors that can be used to guide a person to make decisions. So from here, what we're trying to convey here is we wanted to allow users to make what we call the quantitative assessment. So by looking at this one, you know how many dimensions that have been mentioned by people, and each dimension, how many actually reviews have talked about it, and also in terms of their positive and negative emotions or sentiments account toward each dimension. And moreover, we also wanted to help users to make a qualitative assessment. This is, you can see here, it is the users can bring up what we call the text snippets relevant to each of the dimensions related with each dimension or even each facet. So here it is kind of provide the evidence behind the quantitative assessment. So here, just basically without the blown up version, just to give you an idea, you can see those different bars. Basically, each bar here it represents one snippet, and the length of the bar represents actually the length of the text included in a snippet. And moreover, you can also, because now as I said earlier, you show how the opinions actually distributed among all the dimensions, distributed among different type of sentiment orientations. But sometimes you also want to pull them together to see how a single actually review distributed it. So this one basically shows it is this single review talks about multiple aspects of the product related to each different actually dimension and with a different sentiment. And then, so we did our first version, and we got lots of kind of a criticism, lots of praises. So then we moved on to work on our second version. So this is our second version of OpinionBlocks. So here we changed quite a bit. It is we use the still what we call aspect block to represent each aspect. Use the set of keywords to explain the content, to summarize the content of each aspect. Oh, you can't see here because when we take one, we kind of dim it down. And it uses each of the square to represent a snippet, right? And the color of the square to represent the sentiment orientation of each of the snippet. And moreover, we also use the kind of extra space on the side to you can show actually the full review of a particular, full text of a particular review. And on the second version, one of the major functions we have added is to support what we call interactive user corrections. So the idea here is because the text analytics will never be perfect, and when users are interacting with the generated visual summary, they may spot some of the actually errors or mistakes made by the computer. So they may want to actually correct those mistakes to improve the quality of the system. So here I'm showing two examples here. So one example is we found that is actually users like to correct what we call the sentiment classification mistake. So if you see this example here, this person basically, this snippet basically said it is occasionally the touch screen doesn't recognize me. So by default, in this particular case, the system classified as the neutral sentiment. But for this particular user, he believes this should be a negative sentiment, which means a negative side of the comment of this particular quality dimension. So he can actually drag this snippet into actually to the negative role, basically change the orientation of the sentiment. The second part of the corrections users can make is to change the description of the quality dimension. Because also dimensions are automatically extracted by using natural language techniques, so those extracted labels may not accurately actually reflect what's being said. So the users can actually also change the labels to reflect what either he prefers to see this particular type of reviews grouped together, or he feels like this is actually a better way to describe it. So basically, so far, just in a very short summary, what OpinionBlocks is trying to do is to combine text analytics, which uses various type of actually natural language processing techniques like text summarization and sentiment analysis to convert the unstructured data to a conceptual space that will help users to make decisions. And we'll use interactive visualization to summarize those opinions, summarize basically the constructed conceptual space in a way so users can explore the space better. So in this case, it is the visualization, from visualization aspect, it is we include the key aspects or the dimensions of the opinions that are being expressed and the sentiment toward those aspects. We also provide the key content and evidence in terms of the snippets which are related to each of the key aspects. And of course, you can also access the full opinion text. So in this way, the person, a user, can access a collection of the opinion text at multiple levels of details and hopefully derive multiple types of insights. And the last part we also believe is very important, which bears the important implications not just to visualization community, but also to the natural language processing processing communities. We want to use the crowd feedback to help correct the system analytic mistakes and use that to gradually improve system quality.